Thanks everyone for joining. The first question is actually what's on the masthead. And it really is down to just how doable is digital and what should the industry be looking to action now? Can I start with you, Stephanie?
So it's quite a big question that you are asking here, Peter. The way we see that is that it's not digital per se, but the question is digital, going to answer better our business and our customer expectations? So that's really the question we have. And in fact, we have three different ways to which we look at that. First, considering the new services, so click and collect, shop and collect, going a little bit further into that because we see that it's limited business today, and maybe we can discuss that later. Then we look at what is in store. With COVID, the new norm is so different in terms of interaction that digital can help our staff being empowered. So that's the second thing. And the third thing, and I think this is a little bit new, is more, our ability to optimize our operation thanks to big data, new algorithm that will help us being more precise in the retail that we deliver to the airport. So we need to definitely seize more customer. We have more limited traffic, so we need to get them to buy. So having the best offer is really key. And for that, we are using big data technologies and new algorithm to help us. So those are the three different angles. And I think it's doable, yes, but it requires testing, which today has to be very quick.
How much have you revamped your strategy because of COVID?
100%. We have been locked down March 16th. Our whole life changed with our employee, with our landlord, with our customers. And so we started a journey. We are only on that journey, and we discover, new horizons every day, I would say. Not that much bright horizons, unfortunately, and I'm sure, in this virtual room, we are all facing this issue of reducing our costs, but we want to look further. Apart from reducing our costs, we are looking for efficiency, and we are changing our programs, we are changing our processes, and of course, our initiatives for 2021.
Melvin, you've got your own views, haven't you, about the use of digital and its importance?
Yeah, absolutely. In the end of the day, airport retail is a physical business. People are at the airport, they physically find themselves there, visit shops, go to restaurants, etc. And I think that digital should have its place in helping people to truly experience the airport in the best possible way. So support passengers finding their most ideal journey through the airport. Going to gate, knowing which gate, finding out if their plane is still on time, realizing how much time they need to go to the gate, and hence realizing themselves that they still have, let's say, 30 minutes of dwell time to really do joyful things before they need to go to the gate. And if we help people discover that part, then we can help them to think of interesting things to do during those 30 minutes of time. For example, go to store, go to restaurant, provide a compelling offer, or discover some of those beautiful things which are at every airport that most people don't know. Changi Airport, the Botanical Gardens, Schiphol Airport, the Rijksmuseum, Dependance, all those great things that can make your stay at the airport just a little bit more special, commercial, but also non-commercial. I really think we should use digital to help people get the most out of those.
Where does digital start, at home or at the airport?
Digital starts at the airport. I'm a firm believer that most people at home think about their journey and their destination and not about what to buy when they're at the airport. Maybe that was different back in the days when travel retail was still so intensely unique that you really needed to buy something there because you couldn't find it elsewhere at the same compelling. But let's be real, we've all got e-commerce and home delivery nowadays. I don't think that the majority of people back home preparing for their travels is thinking about what to buy at the airport.
Would you agree with that,
Now,
Stefan? Sorry to cut across you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I tend to disagree as to where the digital starts. Right? I think it starts at the airport. I think it starts before people start traveling. What we have now, the situation we have, is an industry where the number of people traveling are going to be very much depressed for the next 2, 3, 4 years, depending on the estimates that you look at. And the related numbers that you're looking at are very, very important. So you need to work on footfall, you need to work on conversion, you need to make sure you bring more people to your store. And how do you do this? You engage with them before they get to the airport. People start thinking about their duty-free purchases from 1 to 4 weeks before they get to the airport. So if you can engage them there and bring them to your brand world, or you engage them on social media, bring them to your brand world, and then from there you use a few clever marketing tricks, but you can drive traffic either to your physical location, whether it's an HTTP or a store for discovering new products, or you can drive them to an e-commerce website and using the e-commerce website of all the retailers and making them use this click and collect infrastructure that is in place at most airports. So I think it's really important to communicate before, to show them the offering and drive traffic to increase really the footfall in our stores.
I think it's interesting because there's a blurring the dividing line, and I don't know whether you can give some advice, Michael, in terms of how airports and or retailers can play that line and how they use it and where they cross it.
Yeah, first, thanks for having me here today. I'm actually an airline guy, so my background is for almost 20 years from the airline point of view. And I'm still learning about the airports. But I must say what Stefan said is pretty much right. And we see the same behavior even from the airline point of view, that the search and the, let's say, the booking of the plan of a flight or the looking for a destination starts much, much earlier. And you asked before, what is new and what's happening in the industry and what's happening now? And I think that's a very good question. And I think what is one of the key things which we observe and which we're currently working on at the moment is to create actually one platform. You find a lot of different single solutions out there. People are working on some parts of the front end, others in the middle end, somewhere in the back end, and no one really has understood yet how to bring these things together. And I think that will be one of the biggest drivers in the upcoming, let's say, years, to really have a kind of an end-to-end solution, a kind of a platform which enables airlines and airports to really capitalize on what they need to do, because the traffic numbers are pretty much down over the next coming 5 to, let's say, 6 years. And they need to find solutions how to create ancillary revenues. And as Stefan said, it starts much, much earlier in a very early phase when people go for travel, when they go for excursions, and they want to see, okay, what are the offers, what are the things I can actually buy while I'm on the planning it or during I'm on the go.
Why do I think, Michael, that integrated solution is a matter of months ahead rather than years ahead? Just guessing. Stephanie, I just want to come to you, if I may, in terms of how you think airports and retailers should renew their look at digital in terms of really advancing it. I mean, the one thing that COVID has done, in truth, has accelerated digitalization, made it in 5 months rather than 5 years in terms of how fast you've needed to progress. Are you even vaguely close to where you need to be as a business to be able to hook up and connect with your traveling passengers from their starting point of their journey?
I think this is the key topic that you are raising. Just remind that today in Paris, for example, traffic is still down 70%. It was 100. So as Michael was pointing out, we have really a very small number of passengers that are in the airport. So we need to increase definitely our penetration rate. And I just remind you that today, 20% only on average of a passenger buy in duty free. 80% don't buy in the normal world. So today in the new world, we need to increase that section, that part of consumer. I believe that we have an opportunity to talk to them and to reach out to them before they even reach the airport. That's definitely why we are investing in click and collect and a website. However, we so far haven't found the Holy Grail. And we do, you cannot imagine how many initiatives we are doing. Working with startups that have application that connect with the travel ticket, because what we know is that the value proposition of going on a retailer website before you fly, this is a marketing view, unfortunately, because people, they think about their journey, they think about how they will reach the airport, a taxi they will take, which hotel they should book, but where should they wear a mask? But definitely, they don't that much think about retail, so we need to connect with the guys who have already the link with those passenger airlines, airport to some extent, because I think that more and more people are trying to look what is the situation in the airport, what are the sanitary situation of airport. This is the theory. Then we try, in fact, to really work with stakeholders of that ecosystem. So, of course, with airport, we have developed a collaboration with Nice, but each time the redemption, the success was not exactly what we expected. So we will keep on trying, in fact, to get to reach people before they fly. But yeah, so we are not there, which also makes it interesting. But we definitely, and I wish we could do much more with airlines. Again, I think so far, the retail operator was not on top of the list of the priority of airlines. That's my understanding of the discussion we had with EasyJet. Maybe this can change, because if we could manage to bring an added value to an airline. I just give you an example. If tomorrow you sell your ticket with a benefit in the duty free, let's say if you sell a ticket €60 and you get a price benefit in Aelia Duty Free with €10, it's a big part of the price of your ticket. And we, in this case, we could be a part of the value proposition. As long as we stay like an activation, a media tactical tool, I think we'll not get there if we don't manage to be in the same value proposition. So that's really, I think, an opportunity. We have not unleashed it, but I wish we could do that. And I think also the crisis has some benefits. The benefit of, just bringing it down to creating more revenue. And if we can create more revenue for an airline, I think it will be a win-win situation.
I think you're right.
So,
the problem is cutting across, but basically, airlines, airports, retailers, they're all in their silos still at the moment. I mean, there's a degree of mutual exclusivity that is still there. And it is extraordinary, because if ever there's a need for genuine collaboration, meaningful collaboration, this is the time. Michael, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think and what Stephanie said is right. I mean, from an airline point of view, you have some advantages. I mean, you have the customer data, so you know who is flying when and where, so you can target them much more precisely. And you have another USP, which is the loyalty program, so you can redeem miles. And as we do airports and airlines, it was actually interesting to see how the airport turnovers went down while the e-commerce turnovers of the airlines went exponentially up, and not only do the fact that people still like to buy and they had no other options to redeem their miles, but I think also it depends a little bit on the product portfolio, because we can see that with the activities we started with some of our customers to create a marketplace away from these, let's say, typical duty-free commodity products, which are only selling on price. I think the way out here is to really think in a complete different way how to make the offers more attractive, because And that's something where we see are the biggest drivers behind the revenues. And I see the industry is revolving a lot still around the same kind of product offerings, same brands and so on, and not breaking out of that circle. And I think that would be a big opportunity maybe to look into complete different value propositions and different marketplaces, which are maybe more accustomed to the needs of travelers in the future than they have been in the past.
Stefan?
Yeah, I agree with you, Michael. I think there's a big space in travel retail for marketplaces, whether these are the retailer's website, an airport website, or an airline website. Obviously, the airlines have a big advantage with their data, but there is a place for those marketplaces. Now, I think this is great, but it works really on kind of one of the shopper missions of those marketplaces. We need to define the products that go in there, but it mostly work with products that are on a lack of replenishment mission, right? We know that people, probably 85% of the people, they prefer to discover new products in a physical shop, right? And that kind of makes sense if you think about it. Because if you want to buy a new perfume or buy a face cream or something, would you get it before you can smell it? It's a big risk. And it's the same for whiskey, for liquors and so on. So I think there's a space for the replenishment mission, the products that people are used to purchasing on the marketplace. But there's then also a space for something that is more about the new products, the new product discovery, the product launches, that is more to do with the physical space. But that means the conclusion to all of this is that the role of the store, the physical store, also needs to evolve, right? It can't be the transactional store where we have all of these products on shelves and we focus on transactions. And I think the best example I can give you, because anyone has been in an Apple store, right? How many walls of products do you see? How many cashiers do you see? Right? The focus is not on the transaction and it's not on the stock holding. The focus is on the customer experience, experiencing the product, the education, and so on. And I think that's why also in travel retail we need to review a little bit how the store's going to operate.
I think that's a good feed into Stephanie. Off you go.
Yeah, I just would like to say something. First, Apple is a destination store.
Yes.
I mean, we have to handle, and it's very interesting when you hire people from the traditional retail. I mean, you always have time to tell them we are not a destination store, and it's a strength, but sometimes a weakness. So definitely people come to take a plane. So Apple is a different model, definitely. There's a lot of things, of course, to get inspired from, but just keep in mind that we have, we have to seduce people and to get them to buy while they are here to take a flight. So that's very important. But this creates a lot of opportunity for digital in store. You're fully right. How do you test a perfume with the new technology? So we are, for example, working with a startup that is bringing, a way, in fact, to suggest some new perfume depending on the olfactive profile of the perfume you are using, so that in fact you get also a little bit disconnected from the interaction that COVID makes impossible. But you're right. We need in fact to enrich our store. Click and collect is one thing, but we are at Lagardère Travel Retail convinced that basically we have physical assets. Just look at, the weight of our assets through the world is these physical places. This is our added value to the landlord also, and potentially to the other stakeholders as airlines. So we need to enrich that through robotics, new experiences that will really enhance the passenger experience in store. I'm convinced. I just would like to also come back on the price topic. I
was wondering when you're going to come to that.
Yeah, what Michael was pointing out. This is really something that is so important. We would like, as marketing people, to get rid of this price topic because it's much better to play on emotions, to play on, reinforcing the exclusivity of travel retail, getting product that you find nowhere else. That's really. However, each time we do research, and we recently did a research on 1,000 people to understand why they don't buy, and really going deep into insights, and really you always come up with this idea of I'm not convinced that this is a place where I can have a price benefit because it's written duty free on my file. And so it's like a pyramid of Maslow. If you don't get right the base, you can go to the emotional levels. So really, that's our duty. We need to solve that, but we cannot just. Unfortunately, we cannot just say that we don't consider it. So our view is that we need, in fact, to bring that to the consumer. That we have the right prices. It's our job to negotiate with the brands, and then, of course, we can open up to more emotional initiatives and features.
Melvin, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, fully agree. Couldn't agree more. And I think we owe it part to ourselves, because for the past 40 years, we've been educating travelers that the reason to buy in travel retail in duty free was because we had amazing products at unbeatable prices. So of course that has slowly slipped into the consumers' minds, the travelers' minds. I think the interesting phrase that you just said, Stephanie, was in the right price. Because the right price is really, really different per individual passenger. And that's the interesting thing, because if we sell a good at a certain price, then that price can be really competitive for one of our Chinese passengers, while at the same time be absolutely not competitive for an American traveling through the same airport. And I think that's one of the big changes that we as a commercial world under the influence of e-commerce have gone through, and that we have to deal with. We can't, I think, still have the same price for everyone while wanting to have the right price for everyone at the same time as well. Maybe we should work on a more individualized price concept for passengers, meaning that we should maybe give less discount to our Chinese passengers than we are giving to our European or American travelers. And this is a very broad definition, but if you look per product category and per destination, you can even be more precise. Now, back in the days, that wasn't possible because we had these massive signs in front of the shelves, and everybody would read the shelves and would know the pricing. Nowadays, we've got individual one-on-one communication. And if we are communicating with a passenger and we find out that this is a passenger from the Americas wanting to buy a certain cosmetic product, of which we already know what the price of that product in the Americas is, we might just give him or her an extra coupon digitally or an extra discount off the price that's on the shelf. Well, if we have the same conversation about the same product with a passenger from Asia, we just won't give him or her that discount because the price is already the right price, as you said, Stephanie. And I think if we make use of the digital tools that exist nowadays, we can actually really play this game well. And that's just only for the pricing and on marketing and on pulling people towards new products. I think digital really comes into play in a beautiful way as well.
But you're right, but for that you need the customer data. I mean, if you, for example, when I used the no word here, Amazon, and I did the fun exercise and looked at some duty-free products and compared them to Amazon for some in-flight products, and 95% of them were cheaper on Amazon than on a plane. Yeah. So what's
including home delivery?
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. I think we kid ourselves that the price. Price is the driver, and it isn't any longer. Duty-free business has lost its USP. It was all about price, a price advantage.
But Melvin, you said an interesting point, and I think if you think a little bit further in that point of view, it's personalization. So that means to really understand what are, let's say, the shopping and the pricing behaviors of certain target groups or certain people. But for that, you do the data. You do need to understand what is the digital fingerprint of that person? So what is his preferred, let's say, shopping behavior? When does he shop, when and where and how? and therefore you need data. But data you can only collect in a digital way. Even so, to say, okay, that opens up a whole bunch of new possibilities to also play out more conversions with advertising and marketing campaigns, and so on. But the crucial part is how to get to that data and how to collect that data and how to get, how to build up basically a digital relation. And then coming back to what you say, Stephanie, I think if the industry manages to actually build a physical relation in the store with a kind of a curated selling experience, combining that with the digital things and trying to play in the right way, in the right time with the passenger, it works.
If I may, I want to just touch on the subject of the cannibalization from online buying within the marketplace. I think that's important. It's growing. I think people have been used to buying online during COVID, and they're not going to stop buying that way. The challenge it presents to the industry is quite real because it highlights the point about pricing more than anything else. Stephanie, if I can just develop something that you touched on earlier, do you think we'll see autonomous retail in airports? I mean, similar in principle to that of Amazon Go. Is that the way this business needs to go?
I wouldn't. First of all, I don't have a crystal ball, and we are very agile. So I think we are not close to any of those initiatives. Our belief is that it will never be the core of our revenue industry. Definitely, we're automated retail that requires no staff, no cost. As a company, of course, we think it could be interesting, especially, in fact, to make sure we keep our, the revenue of this whole ecosystem, and also for the airport. And also, I wanted to say that when we talk about automated retail, there's a lot of issues related to operations, related to replenishment. So it's not that easy to plug an Amazon Go in an airport. For me, it's not the core of the strategy. It's a tactical way to cope for a difficult situation. So that's not our key focus, even though we are considering for some places devices that can be close to automated vending machine, things like this.
Have any airports invited you to look at something like that?
To answer your question, Peter, it's really the creativity of developing that is really, something that we discuss with airports every month to cope with the current situation. That's why I think there's some creativity also that will rise with the crisis.
Stefan, you've got a major interest in China, and you see different things happening there. How would you like to comment on what Stephanie just said?
I think Europe and China and Asia in general, the problems in duty-free are quite different. Some of them are the same, but when we talk a lot about the cost issue, I know this is very different. The cost in Europe is obviously duty paid in most of Europe. There's still duty-free in Asia. So we don't have really the same problematics. But at the end of the day, I think we need to start talking about cost, right? And I think everyone here agrees, and we've been talking about this for a long time. What we need to bring in the equation is more talking about value. It's more value. It has to have the right value for customer. Some customers would be ready to pay more for a product than they would pay on the local markets. Why? Because they get an experience. They get an experience at the airport, something that they take with us, they take on, and then they can talk to their friends. The product they bring back, whether it's a beauty product or a drink, they bring it back and they share it with their friends, and they have a story to share. So all of this has some value. So if we stop focusing on the price, but we focus on the experience, then the value proposition is changing, right? And when we know that there was this great stat from Mindset last year, it's about 50% of the people that they interviewed said that one of the barriers for not getting into the store was that it wasn't experientially enough. There wasn't enough interesting stuff happening in the stores. Half of the people said this, right? When you know that about 2/3 of the people don't get into the store anyways, if you can change the mind of half of this, you double your footfall in your store. So I know it doesn't work, it's not as simple as this, but the size of the opportunity is there when you talk about the experience. It helps you take the conversation away from the price by bringing in on the value that you bring. And then, if I may, just one more thing. I think I join your point of view, Stephanie, when you said that apart from some tactical applications of like an autonomous stores or different ways of selling, the focus should still be on the experience, because travel retail is a place where at the end of the day we have a captive audience that has some time there, and what they want to do is be entertained. They are in a different state of mind when they are going on holidays, and if you give them the experience, they will get engaged with these experiences.
Stefan, digital can't replace physical experiences. You've said that time and time again. And your company's renowned for creating in the airport space. And of course, it has a role in driving footfall to activations. But what's its use beyond that? Should things change? If so, how so?
Well, I think the short answer is yes. Things need to change. Yeah. I think this COVID crisis has been an amazing wake-up call for the industry. Right? It's been a good accelerator, like you said it earlier, 5 months to make what would have taken 5 years happen. So I think for me, really, the digital, it doesn't replace the physical experience. It really adds to it, right? You still have your physical space, you still have your store, you still have your activations, but you can now do more. This is what I touched on earlier. You can start targeting people before they get to the airport. If you look at the local markets, at how brands operate on local markets, I think we can get a taste of what should happen in travel retail. People don't think in terms of online or offline. They don't think, oh, I'm going to be targeted on my mobile when I go in the store. The shopper journeys are completely seamless. You might see an ad on your computer, go in the store to check the product, you're not sure, and you finish the transaction on your phone while you commute home. So there's not an omni-channel, there's not online and offline. There's just the right experience that is delivered where it matters and when it matters for each consumer. So they need to be engaged consistently with the same message along the whole journey. And there's loads of examples like this. There's loads of examples in the local market. There's the Burberry store that probably everyone's heard of that opened in Shenzhen in collaboration with Tencent, which they call the social commerce store. And basically in this store, every single touch point, the window displays, the product discovery, product information, the in-store engagement, the rewards, a big reward program, everything is integrated and everything lives in the store where you interact with your avatar in the store, in the physical environment, and it all lives also beyond the store. So obviously that's a little bit too far for travel retail. We've got our limitations in travel retail. We can't do all of this, but there are some learnings. And as I said earlier, I think the role of the store really needs to change, and we need to make sure we focus first on everything that can't be delivered on the mobile phone, but we need to focus on the experience in the store, and really the physical contact with people, which is a bit strange in times of COVID, but it will come back, but also the physical contact with the product. So I think to sum up, really, I'd say the digital really adds to the physical experience, and then my view of how this should change airport retail is that any kind of transactional part of the shopping, all of the product fulfillment, all of this will have to be managed through some kind of an online platform in a digital way. And then the physical space at the airport, for me, will be a collection of experiences for the travelers. When they get to the airport, they've got all kinds of activations of experiences to discover and enjoy.
Can you give us some other clear examples of where digital solutions have applied that can actually point the way forward in airport retail?
Yeah, we've worked, I think, we've worked with Luxottica about a year and a half ago to do some kind of a pilot project where we wanted to start engaging customers before they get to the airport. And obviously, we've talked a lot about it. The airlines data are the holy grail. if you get this, you get where and when people are going to be, and therefore it's really easy to you get social demographics information, what they like, they use air miles and so on, and you can pinpoint exactly what they like, and it's great. But realistically, it's not something we can get very easily, right? Airlines are not really known to be sharing data with everyone. So what we did is we took a different road. We tried to be more creative in terms of how we were targeting people on social media, doing it through social media and drive them onto a platform. And on this platform, really, then again, a few clever tricks to bring them to the store and drive them really to come and discover the product, the physical activation that happens at the airport. So this is something we've started about a year and a half ago with Luxottica, and we've got a lot of learnings. It was our first integrated campaign. We've built on it, and we're now actually launching some kind of a platform also, but something that's quite simple, something that does one thing and does it well. And it's really what we do is retail, right? So what we want to do is give brands access to the travelers before they travel, and target them online in a specific time frame, 1 to 4 weeks before they travel, bring them on an online brand one, and then pop them either to visit your physical retail point or on a retailer e-commerce website to leverage the click and collect infrastructure that is existing.
But what's key there is what you're saying, and you're prioritising that it is an integrated campaign. It's not isolationist. You're not separate. You're trying to merge the two in some sort of framework that actually is meaningful and actually very different from what's previously happened.
You're right. The key word in there is integrated, right? You can't think about a campaign for digital and a campaign for your physical activation that are separated. This doesn't work. You need to see all of this as one single campaign that is delivered on all of the different touch points along the customer journey. So yes, of course, we need to define the right touch points, online, offline. We need to craft the right message that is relevant to the shoppers, that is relevant to when they receive this message. And obviously with the aim to bring them and to drive the traffic to a physical location or online. This is a concept that we call at Circle Square. We call this one brand, one voice, right? It's the need for the brand to have a consistent message that is told along the entire shopper journey. So that means you need to plan your activation in an integrated way. You need to plan one campaign along the journey and not a physical campaign, a digital campaign that are disjointed.
So, any further comment on that, Melvin?
Travel retail is a physical playground. And indeed, as I hear it now, one brand, one voice is just so relevant, because as a consumer, you see that same brand so often outside this physical playground that we call travel retail. So it makes a lot of sense to be there. Well, as I said previously, we tend to use digital as AirCare to really push people when they're at the airport towards making the best out of their stay at the airport. To get to know more about the brand, to learn about brands and brand stories, simply by scanning a QR which is on the shelf in store, which instantly gets them into a conversation on their phone that will tell them all about the brand, that offers them the possibility to get more information about that brand, whether it be a movie or just some quick up and forth question and answering. And it all from the beauty of not having to download any app, not having to download anything on your phone, but just using the same tool as you use to chat and to talk with your friends and to get information, as we all do it nowadays when we speak to the people we trust, using WhatsApp, using Facebook Messenger, using WeChat, all the very common and widely used messaging apps, which are already on all the phones that we have. And then as a third one, have that conversation in your own language. So if you're a Mandarin speaker, you just have that conversation in Mandarin. If you prefer French, then of course you speak in French, getting all the information that you need. And whether that will get you branding information to really become a fan of the brand, whether it will instantly convert you into making this purchase at the airport, impulse, because you became really, really enthusiastic having experienced the brand in a beautiful way, or maybe it does just bring you a lot of joy and you decide to make the purchase later or elsewhere. I think in all three cases, it's a beautiful use of your time at the physical airport stores.
Stephanie, I know you want to come in, but can I just ask Michael to say something on this?
Where we see the future, what's new and what's happening in the industry. As you know, we concentrate on the non-aeronautical revenues, which means everything not to do with the seat booking, the luggage, and so on. So everything we do is we are looking at the moment or consolidating on a platform has to do with either duty-free, with food and beverage, with services, excursions, and other, let's say, value propositions and offerings. And I think this is the main point here, that we see a huge potential in combining these different elements with each other. Especially when I look at the food and beverage offering at the moment, where we see a lot of waste still being produced with airlines. We made some assumptions and calculations. And I also think it's quite unethical nowadays still to throw food away while we have already the technology to pre-order or pre-select food for airlines. So these are the things we currently focus on. And like what I said before, there are a lot of different single solutions out there in the market, which are not really connected in a way. So you've got companies which do front-end e-commerce, you've got other companies which do the in-flight part, you've got other companies which do the supply chain part. And I see a huge potential in basically combining all these elements on one platform and to make it a plug-and-play platform which is modular built up and easy to use. And as we have already most of the so-called APIs and plugins, might it be PNR validation from the booking systems, might it be loyalty, might it be understanding all the data. This is something we're currently working on, is to consolidate all that into one platform, which helps airlines to actually optimize and personalize transactions. And I think this is where the future is going. And I believe this is the way forward.
Stephanie wanted to come in.
To some extent, we need to go back to the drawing board to invent solutions, maybe take solutions that exist and just tweak them so that, in fact, you can adapt them to the new norm without, having all those investments. Because I also we need to point out that efficiency is becoming more and more important. We cannot reinvent the wheel. We have a limited time. Now we have 3 months to get it right so that next year we cope with a traffic that will be down approx 20-30%. So I like this idea of using things that exist but tweaking them to adapt to the consumer. And definitely it's not one size fits all. We also, one thing we have changed for now with this new context is to have much more targeted proposition. We have persona of non-buyer and persona of buyers. And the persona of buyers, we use our big data capacity. We said, we are not going to do a research and look at behaviors that are nice, but that don't connect that much to our business. We use 60 million of our transaction, and we set up a big data infrastructure with using data science, and we came with segmenting our transactions depending on products that are together, and they define a purchase behavior. And really, I think also this is all changing a lot, and it will help us being more targeted, as Michael, you pointed out. So I mean, the future will certainly be more digital, more targeted, but it needs to be quick.
I think everybody agrees with you there, and I think actually it may take a touch more than just finessing the existing product, but at least people are taking some people are taking action now. So I mean, the threads of this conversation have been quite extraordinary. It's been a very interesting hour, and really what I want to end up with is to ask you for one specific recommendation that doesn't involve CapEx, because that's a word is almost verboten now, but actually to make a recommendation to the viewing audience is exactly, if you had a chance of doing something now that's a viable product that has an immediate application, what would it be? Stephanie.
So if I had a magic wand, then the only thing would be sharing data.
Stefan?
One thing to do now, contact me and talk about engaging the customers before the airport. Easy.
Okay, good plug. That's enough, Stefan. Thank you. Melvin?
If you really want to make a difference as of tomorrow, start using QR codes massively at your airport and in store, and tell people what happens if they scan these codes. And what should happen is to get into a personal conversation with them that would make that time even more beautiful at the airport. No capex involved, instant happiness, and start gathering data out of those conversations instantly.
Michael?
Connectivity on board.
Okay, short and sweet. Thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated.
Well, thank you, Peter.
Thanks so much.
Well, Michael, we've changed offices. It makes for a pleasant change. It was very hot in that studio. So I want to move on from where we were in the digital session. I mean, we wanted this particular event to showcase new thinking and new ideas that have an immediate application. So I'm delighted that you've chosen this webinar to communicate something that truly breaks new ground for the airline industry, a platform which essentially covers e-commerce, in-flight, and the supply chain, effectively a complete end-to-end solution. Tell us more.
Yes, thanks, Peter, and I'm very delighted to be here. As you rightly said, we've seen over the last couple of months a lot of requests from airlines to redesign their complete value proposition. And we obviously reacted to it like the whole market is under, let's say, a lot of movement at the moment. And we've seen there are a lot of different solutions out there, interesting solutions and bits and pieces. But what no one has really done yet is to combine them into one single platform. And this is exactly what we have done over the course of the last months, that we have created an end-to-end platform, as you rightly said, where we are able to actually offer customers the e-commerce front end with the known functionalities in terms of mixed payments, in terms of I can order what I want, when I want, I get it delivered where I want to it. Plus we integrated now the in-flight part so that passengers can also buy products, duty-free products or food and beverage products on board, pay for it and have the transaction on that one, and connected all that into an integrated seamless supply chain so that we are able to actually control stocks, monitor stocks, and actually also monitor theft. We are able to do a pick and packing beforehand for pre-order and pre-selecting of F&B products on board. So the entire system and the entire platform is designed in a very simple way, we call it in a plug and play way. And it's got one huge advantage. It offers our customers to really create a marketplace. So that means to really enlarge the offers and be much more supplier independent.
Have you branded it with a name?
We're working on a branding at the moment. It's a good point because the software suite is built from different, let's say, different elements at the moment. That is something we're currently working on and which will be revealed at the end of the year.
So with the new platform, there's no upfront payment involved.
Exactly, yeah. This is another good point you just mentioned because we see obviously in the market at the moment, let's say a very much a tendency towards no spending any capex, which is absolutely clear and understandable with the current situation. And what we have done as well is we've looked at the software suites we had, and we tried to find out what are the cost drivers behind that and how can we actually optimize that and what is really necessary to run and maintain the platform. We've done that homework now very successfully, and we managed to actually get the running and the maintenance and the hosting costs pretty much down. And that saying so, we are actually able to implement such a platform with no upfront investments. And our business model now is based on transactions. That means we have a small subscription fee plus a revenue or transaction-based share with our customers. And from the discussions we have so far with some of the airlines, that model is perceived as very, very interesting.
Well, it must be a bit of a no-brainer for them in real terms because you actually offer a one-stop solution.
Yes, it is a no-brainer. You're right, but unfortunately, a lot of them are still in running contracts and are at the moment, let's say, in a phase where they try to actually ramp up, redesign the scale of their business. But you're absolutely right. I think that platform and the way we have set it up is highly interesting for airlines and also train companies. I didn't mention it just now that we are expanding also in other markets where we have the same kind of challenges, and we can solve these challenges as well. And just recently we won also 2 new customers in that field, which are already starting to use that platform now.
I understand that one of the key elements of the platform is that it's standalone and supply independent. Is that a winning ticket for you?
Yes. As you've seen already, what we have done with Singapore Airlines is a good example, where we created a marketplace. And a marketplace means that you are opening up basically your offering to many more brands, to many more products, and to many more offerings. And this is what we are able to do, is we can actually create a food marketplace or a duty-free marketplace or a service marketplace where we can plug in different suppliers, regardless where they are and what they at the end of the day deliver. And that enables an airline to actually have a much broader scope of the product portfolio and a much broader scope of the offering. It goes even one step further, that we create so-called shop-in-shop sites. These sites are in the design of, for example, an Apple store, and they are linked then to Apple itself. So that also plays back more traffic. And I think it's a no-brainer that this creates a lot of new synergies as well.
Now, we know that AOE's platforms straddle both airlines and airports. In this venture, who are you actually partnering with?
It's a good point. I mean, we're still having a lot of, let's say, the controversial discussions between the integration of airports and airlines. We have a setup of partners on both sides, which helping us to complete the value proposition. Coming back to the discussions of the integration of airports and airlines, I think that will be a long way. And I think at the moment airlines are more on a winning side or the gaining side, because they have access to the customer data and they've got loyalty programs which help them to redeem miles. So that's a big advantage. We'll see how that game will evolve. I think there are still a lot of synergies and overlaps, as I said, I think already before, in the food and beverage part, in my point of view, where airports could provide interesting options also for airlines, where they don't have to take the catering on board and rather give certain elements to customers already on the ground, or create pickup or vending machines. I think these are very interesting valid options which we've tested already and which were successful. In terms of partnerships, yes, I think here we're pretty much set for the airline part, and we have some good talks with some very prominent partners at the moment on the airport part as well.
You won't name them at the moment, I understand.
But
when do you think you will be able to announce your first contracts?
I think when the LOIs are signed. We are in the middle of signing LOIs at the moment, and we're in the middle of redesigning our website at the moment, and everything will be open and transparent soon, and very interesting to look at. But at the moment, everything is still under NDA and signature. So it takes a couple of weeks still until we're ready to do that.
Just moving on, does this effectively mean that AOE's OM3 platform has actually morphed into something else entirely with this new platform that you developed?
Yes, and I think it's a good question, because if you compare it to pioneers, and I think AOE was one of the pioneers in airport e-commerce, and you obviously learn with the go. I mean, if you're the first one doing it, the first one exploring it, you're going into a new field, and you need to learn what that means and how it works. And I think there have been a couple of evaluation and evolving loops in the development, and now we are getting to a point where we are actually taking the best of both worlds. So understanding what are the drivers, what are the, let's say, the KPIs behind e-commerce, how can you make it work? How can you increase conversion? How can you increase basket value? How can you actually attract customers on that? What is the customer behavior? What is the shopping behavior? I mean, that needs to be learned, and that needs to be analyzed and taken into consideration. And based on the learning, based on the insights, based on the behaviors, based on what we saw, what works, what doesn't work, we obviously developed the products and the propositions further. And I think now we're at the point where we can say that we have solutions which are much more competitive. As I said, also airlines are not only airlines, also airports are struggling massively under the current situation. And you have to adapt to the situation. I can only say, thank goodness we've done that already over the couple of years. So we know how to do it and where to do what to make sure that our products are becoming much more price competitive. So what I basically said for the airline part obviously counts also for the airport part. And here we also have lots of ideas at the moment how we can help and support also airports with new ideas. And some of them are marketplaces in a complete different direction. Some of them are based on brand corporations. In fact, I even got today from a very, very well-known luxury brand an email that said, wow, we are so amazed with what you're doing there on the airport. Can we speak? Are there other possibilities to support us as well? So it shows that the market is recognizing these efforts. The market is recognizing that what we do there makes sense. And we will keep on working on that, and we keep on improving it, because I think it's very important to put yourself into the shoes and into the mindset of our customers, to really understand that, okay, a partner needs to develop the product and needs to constantly challenge himself to give you the best and the most optimized solutions.
Well, I certainly think that being price competitive is very, very important these days. I mean, OM3 was always a high-end cost. I mean, it was the Ferrari of the market, as it were. But what you're now saying is that you're delivering something more affordable, more like a BMW 5 Series, possibly diesel, still seamlessly smooth, though, and reliable. Yes?
Yes, I think, and you're absolutely right. I mean, it was a platform, high-end platform for high-end customers, which I would say have the traffic and the portfolio and the spectrum of products to do that maybe. But you also need to look at other airports and what are their needs and what do they what are their priorities, or what are their pain points actually. And we have a lot of talks at the moment with different airports which have different pain points. You know, it might start that some say, okay, we cannot really identify customers. Others say, okay, we need a new website. Others say we want to create a local marketplace with local suppliers, for example. Also a very smart approach to say, okay, we want to bring more of the local people into the airport and connect them with travelers. We have ideas where we're looking into some airports discussing with us at the moment. They say, when passengers reserve booking and then they want to reserve lounge access and then we want to reserve fast track and so on, and then we lose them on the way. We don't have a clear profile. We don't have a single sign-on technology. Others say our search functions are not working properly. So what I'm saying here is basically we're opening the spectrum as experts to help airports find new ways to their pain points, and develop together with. I don't think coming back to this OM3 discussion, I don't think there is a one fits all. I think we need to really look from airport to airport. What are their needs? What are their pain points? What could be their strategy? And that's why we also developed a so-called Kickstarter or incubator team, which is a small consulting unit, which is there for our customers and our partners, or the people or the airports who want to work with us, which is more than happy to share their experiences and share their know-how and help our customers to develop solutions which gain them more customer traction, more customer insights, more ancillary revenues, a seamless travel journey, a touchless travel journey, and so on and so on. So I think AOE understood that we need to open up a little bit more into different things. Also, we discussed this morning, sustainability is a huge field for airports. And there might be complete new applications there, which we haven't even thought about it. So what I'm basically saying is we're opening up to much more different fields in
very much more tailored as well, far more tailored activity on your behalf.
Yeah, I mean, we are a digital company at the end of the day, so everything has to do obviously with kind of digital solutions. But I think there are much more options and much more possibilities to help.
Just going back to, or going forwards to the new platform, let's say that. What are the other benefits? I mean, have you linked the platform to other income streams?
Yes. We're going a little bit one step after the other at the moment because the technical integrations are completed now. Now we have some pilot customers already running on it very successfully, very smoothly, which is quite good to see. And obviously we're going to start now expanding the different features and modules in the front end and in the back end, so that we are able to plug in more, let's say, suppliers or even consumer brands, and in the front end to also provide relevant content. So basically connect e-commerce also with other content platforms.
So it's content and incremental advertising revenue.
For example, that could be one part. I think there are many different things we could envision at the moment, how we enable airlines to even more increase their ancillary revenues. In the front end, there are also more integration and different models we're currently thinking in terms of loyalty as well. You can also create their new models, which we're thinking at the moment, in partner models. I think the options, once you have a platform up and running, I think at the front end and the back end, there's still a lot of stuff you can play around. So,
what else is new? You mentioned rail networks, railways. What's happening there?
Yeah, that's an interesting market. In fact, the market is same like with airports. It's similar but different. And for airlines and for railway companies, we're having some interesting projects in the pipeline at the moment. It reaches from, let's say, a new digital workplace for people on the train, the guy, I don't know how they're called, who do the ticketing and so on, up to like new concepts for restaurants, up to new kind of supply chain models, even to think about how could be vending integrated in trains in the future. Again, it's a bunch of different ideas we're currently working on. In fact, if you look at a train station, it's similar like an airport. It can also be an interesting marketplace, maybe for different needs and different products. But I think the setup there is pretty similar, and a lot of railway companies are still even worse structured and silos than airlines. And I think there's a lot of work there also on the organizational part. But we see huge potential because what is happening now through the bailout, governments are putting more pressure on local infrastructures to be transferred to the railway. We will see in the future new ecosystems arising between railways, airports, and airlines. And I think that whole game will open up a complete new area of possibilities. Because as we see already in France or in other North European countries, the train has significantly taken passenger traffic away from airlines. Through the bailouts now by governments, there will be more pressure to do so. So that segment will be growing and will be much more interlinked with the actual airlines. And I think there is a lot of new opportunities for digitalization, for integration, and that's the piece which we find very interesting at the moment.
One final question, Michael. I mean, if you could describe the difference that your brand new platform will make for the industry in one sentence, what would it be?
Yeah, Peter, it's actually very simple. It's an end-to-end solution, which no one has done yet. And we developed it. We put it together. Very simple.
Michael Rush, thank you for your time. Stefan, welcome back. First question really is about trying to get a clear fix on where Circle Square's thinking is in terms of the future of digital and how it should be manipulated, used to the benefits of brands on airport and outside airport.
Well, thank you, Peter. I think it's a very relevant question these days. We've all probably have had a lot of conversation over the past few months about digital and what the role of digital should be in travel retail. Some people might see it as the new holy grail. Let's invest in digital and this is going to save us. Some people still have their doubt, but I think everyone is talking about it. How do we use it to help us get back to our numbers? And I think to some extent, it's been a bit of a wake-up call for the industry, this COVID crisis that is happening at the moment. Because if you think about it, we've had it pretty easy, right? We've had a passenger growth pretty much steady over the years, whatever the numbers are, maybe 6, 7, 8% every year. And that means it's quite easy for brands and retailers to make their numbers. You take what you've done the previous year, you do a little bit more creative, change a few things, and bingo, you got your new promotion and you make your numbers. So I think this created a bit of a lazy environment in travel retail. No one was really incentivized to make some changes and to look outside of the traditional model that's always been used, tried, and tested in travel retail. But now, because less people are going to be traveling, and depending on the estimates that you look at, it's gonna last until 2023 or 2024. And if there's less people traveling, it means that your relative numbers become more important. You need to touch more people if you want to make the same number as before. So that's the reason why we need to now start thinking about increasing our footfall, increasing our conversion in airport, in our store, and in our activations. So how do we do that? Well, I believe this is really about digital. This is how we can start to engage travelers before they get to the airport, start talking to them, engaging with them, driving them to the store and giving them in the store the actual physical experiences that they're looking for.
So what are you telling your clients right now? What are you advising your clients to do? I mean, are they going to have to completely reconstitute their strategies to align it better with the new age?
No, I think it's not about doing a completely new strategy, right? The same strategy still applies. It's just a matter of changing a little bit the way you see how you communicate to your clients, and changing a little bit how you allocate your budget. It's not even a matter of spending more, but it's a matter of spending in the right place to obtain your objective, to get to your objective, right? So, for example, you can now start quite accurately, targeting people before they get to the airport. So we offer this to our clients. We can tell them you can target in most airports people who are going to be traveling in the coming, say, 2 weeks, because that's when people start thinking about purchasing in duty free. And if you start talking to these people before, you can engage them online. When you engage them online, there's two different things you can do online, right? The first one is try to engage them with a new product. Because obviously, if you have a new product, you're not going to change your schedule of launching new products. But if you have a new product, you can start talking to people online. You can start teasing them, trying to bring them to your store so they're excited and they come to discover it. And this is important to bring them to your store, right? When you have a new product, you're not going to purchase a new product without knowing what it is. And I think the best example is probably the perfume or cosmetics and even whiskeys, actually, or any liquor. You're not going to purchase a new perfume without having the opportunity to try it on and see what it smells like. So you can engage people online, and then you drive them to the physical experience where they can actually interact with the product and do all of these, the physical part of the experience that can't be done online. And then the second part that you can do that still needs to be part of your strategy is that once you engage with people before they get to the airport, say 2-3 weeks before they get to the airport, you can start planting the seeds that they need to think about duty-free purchase, right? First of all, I think everyone who's going to be traveling in the next year will most likely be reuniting with friends or family or colleagues and so on. So you can remind them that, hey, a gift might be a good idea. And then there's also probably, there will be, and depends maybe on the nationalities and the locations, but there might be a little bit of a fear of some people to get into the stores and the unknown of the stores, the COVID and all of this. So you can also remind them that, hey, you can do your purchase now. And then when you get to the airport, it's all done, it's ready for you, it's waiting in the bag, someone's going to give it to you, and you're done with your purchase. So you can start planting this seed into people's mind and use the existing e-commerce solutions that most of the retailers have put in place, and you leverage the click and collect infrastructures that they have to actually start selling before people get to the airport.
But social media is pivotal to this, of course. It has to be inextricably linked and integrated into any campaign that you have.
It is, because it is the only way to touch people, right? You need to find a way to get to the people before they get to the airport. So it's obviously a domain we've been thinking a lot about, because this is an integral part of a successful campaign, who you target and who you can reach. And there's been a lot of discussions, right, about getting the airlines data. And obviously, airlines data are the absolute holy grail. Everyone's talking about it in the industry. We need to be sharing the data. We need to have the airline on board, and so we can use this data and target people when they're going to be traveling just before. We know everything about them. We know their departure airport, arrival airport, social demographics. We know everything about them. But the problem is airlines are notoriously not the ones who share the most their data, right? So it's very complicated to have it. So we have to find a different way. And the different way is to be creative and try to target people on social media. So we're not using just Facebook, Instagram, or WeChat. There's a whole bunch of different partners, from the OTAs, from specialized data providers, from all of the social medias. And if you mix all of them and do a little bit of a magic in there in terms of media planning, then you can get to a point where you can be quite accurate. Obviously, you're not going to touch everyone, but you can be quite accurate as to who you're targeting.
Your client base, how many of them have piggybacked on this and are going to be adapting this new form of communication related to their brands to the traveling passenger? How many of them are getting on board? Because we're behind the curve as a business, as you alluded to earlier. So is it going to be this year, next year? Because we're slow. We're slow, and it's time to get off the potty and actually address it without actually over-egging the digital budgets, because some people can knee-jerk and say it's all got to digital. I know many actually have in some respects, and that's the wrong policy. The shift is slow, it evolves, but it needs to happen now. So in terms of timeline, where are your clients at the moment?
So you're absolutely right. We are in travel retail behind the curve. If you look at all of the local markets, these are solutions that have been implemented for a very long time, right? It's quite commonplace to start targeting people, and everybody's experienced this, and whether it's on LinkedIn or on Facebook or anywhere. But in travel retail, it's fairly new. What we have done, and I think we've been one of the pioneers of pre-travel targeting. We started this a bit more than a year ago, actually, a year and a half ago, with Luxottica. And we've planned a campaign with Luxottica, the owner of Oakley and Ray-Ban. And we've planned a campaign in Hamburg Airport where we're targeting people on social media before they traveled. Give them a bit of a hook so they would click on our advertisement and be driven into an online brand world where they would have the opportunity to download a digital coupon, which, if redeemed at the activation, would offer them the opportunity to have an instant prize or the big prize of the promotion. So I guess the idea there, it's a clever marketing trick to push people to go to each step of the process, right? But the bottom line is touch people before they travel, drive them onto your own little platform where you can actually control the narrative. You have the first discussion, the first contact with the customers, not the retailer, but yourself as a brand. And then you drive them to your touch point, your physical touch point, whether it's an activation or a shop. So in terms of timeline, we've tested this last year. So the first time we've done it was last summer. We've taken a lot of learnings on this. We know this is the right way forward. And so what we've decided now to do after last year's trial is that we've started to develop a platform, right? It's a digital platform that does pretty much all of this, including the driving to the e-commerce website, so driving to physical store and driving to e-commerce. We've developed it internally. And this is something we are approaching brands right now at the moment to discuss with them and to see how we can use this to implement in travel retail for their coming campaign next year. And I think it is exactly the right time because, again, everyone's talking about digital. Everyone's trying to find new ways of communicating with their shoppers, new ways of engaging. So it is, in a way, thanks to this crisis, the best time for people to start looking into this.
Are there any campaigns that have actually impressed you, that have actually locked onto your thoughts beyond your own campaign? Anything else out there in the market that is a good kind of benchmark for people to look at?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. Unfortunately, not in travel retail, and most of them are. I mean, I'm based in Hong Kong, and I see a lot of stuff that are done at the moment in Asia and especially in China. And I think the China consumer is a bit more advanced also in terms of the way they interact with social media, the way they understand that a shopper journey is an integral part that integrates the digital and the physical. So then I think they're a bit more in advance in that, on all of these aspects. And one of the great example that I've seen recently is Burberry. They've just opened a flagship store in Shenzhen. And the flagship store they've opened in Shenzhen, they've done it in partnership with Tencent. Tencent is the tech giant that owns WeChat. And the store's been basically developed around a WeChat mini program, which is like kind of a small website within WeChat. And everything in the store is linked to this WeChat mini program, right? You've got interactive window displays that react to you personally as an individual. You would have a different interaction. The product discovery, the product tags, you can use them in there. You've got all of the in-store engagement. You've got rewards. You even have your own personal avatar that lives on this digital world. So everything that you are in contact with the brand lives in the store. Obviously, you interact with it with your digital device, but you also live outside of the store, right? Burberry is a great example of how virtual and digital are merging in terms of shopper experience. And it is a great experience for local market, but obviously in travel retail, things are different and we've got our own limitations and we all know them, right? We've got, primarily they're travelers coming to the airport, they're not shoppers. So it changes the dynamics a lot. But what it tells us, initiatives like the Burberry store tell us that the role of the store has to change, and it has to change in travel retail as well. It might not be as crazy and as integrated as the Burberry store, but we need to rethink our model as well. We need to get away from the transactional part of a store. We need to get away from the stock holding part of a store, and we need to keep really in the store the stuff you can't do on your phone, basically. You need to keep in the store the experience, the engagement, the living the physical product.
If there was a call to action that you would say to the viewing audience, what would it be?
Join the revolution. It is time. It is time to change. It is time to do things a little bit differently, especially in travel retail. I've said it before. We've had it so easy that no one's really been challenged to do things a little bit differently. So we need to now start to change things, to see things differently, to try new things. And all of this is about just having an open mind, thinking, focusing on the experience, focusing on what we can give to the customers. Philip has said repeatedly, stores need to stop waiting for a best store design award. They should be competing for best shopper experience award, because at the end of the day, it is the shopper that is important. That's the shopper we need to think about. Whether it's on the digital world, when we target them, when we try to talk to them and engage them before they get to the airport, or at the airport, it all should revolve around the shopper. Not about the shop, not about the retailer, not about the airline. It's about the individual who is coming there.
So rattling the cage is not enough in itself. You've actually got to pull the bars out and start completely anew. So rethink, repurpose, reimagine. Stefan Zermatten, thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, Melvin, welcome back. We've moved on in the day, and I want to stay on what is new and pivotal within digital. As we know, you launched Air Commerce in the Trinity Forum last year, and I think it's worth recapping the fact that this is a product that is available now, it's viable, and it's doable, and at no great cost to the airports in order to simply enhance the overall customer knowledge and experience when traveling through an airport. So perhaps you can literally take us through briefly what it is, what it does, and the benefits to everyone.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Peter, for asking. AirCare is essentially the most easy-to-use tool for passengers to fully enjoy the airport where they find themselves in at a certain moment. It's a non-downloadable digital application, which means actually you don't have to download anything on your phone, and still you can use the full application. And what it actually does is it allows passengers to be in direct contact with the airport, with the brands, and with the operators, to share information, to ask questions, and especially in these times, COVID times, when people have a lot of questions when traveling, it's a perfect tool just to bring care and comfort to passengers. And we all know if passengers don't feel at ease, they're going to run to the gate and sit there until the plane leaves. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just suboptimal behavior that doesn't allow the passenger to get the best out of the beautiful airport they find themselves in. And of course, with regards to commercial turnover, it's absolutely suboptimal. Now, what is AirCare? AirCare is actually nothing more than a conversation and the way as you would have it with your friends. You scan a QR code at the airport, either on the shelf of a product or on the floor or on a big billboard in front of customs. It can be everywhere. Everyone can scan a QR code with their mobile phone, nothing needed. And the moment you scan it, you end up in a conversation in WhatsApp or WeChat or Facebook Messenger, depending what your favorite messaging application is. And instantly you're in a conversation, an automated conversation with the airport. And you can ask questions like, do I need to wear a mask over here at this airport? Is my flight still on time? And you'll get answers back because it's automated very rapidly and made for massive scale communication, though personalized. That will say, sure, what's your flight number? And after punching in the flight number, you'll get the information back. Yeah, the flight is still on time. Actually, from where you are right now, it's a 15-minute walk, which actually is beautiful news because it will give you 1 hour to spend at the airport before you need to head over to your gate. And then there comes in a suggestion. Did you know that our airport has a beautiful museum? It's just on your way to the gate. Or would you perhaps be looking for a gift? We have a remarkable special offer. We have tested a very impulse-driven food and beverage offer in the same line of thinking, where passengers were already sitting at the gate, and on the empty chair next to them, it's COVID time, so a lot of empty chairs besides passengers. On the empty chair next to them, on the armrest, is a small sticker with a QR, and the sticker says, fancy a 2-for-1 coffee. And it's a beautiful way to pull people out of that chair to at least grab a coffee. People scan the code that's on there, and instantly they're in a quick conversation in WhatsApp, over there, the preferred conversational app. And it just says, listen, so you're up for a warm coffee or a warm tea or anything else. Here comes a 2-for-1, a voucher code, a QR code in this case comes up, which people can just simply have scanned at the local Starbucks, which is right opposite the gate. There you go. It's extra sales and happy days for the passenger. And finally, we're squeezing some extra commercial revenue out of passengers waiting at the gate as well.
So, how many languages does it offer?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It always starts in English. In terms of English is the core language that we use, but it speaks every language we like it to speak. And that's the good thing when it comes to bringing comfort and allowing people to actually use the language they speak themselves. It speaks French at a French airport, and to Chinese passengers, it speaks Mandarin. Obviously, it's a deliberate choice because it's a pre-programmed conversation in a way that we predict, and together with our partners, the airports and the brands, think of questions that passengers will ask and think of the best answers to those questions. And then we decide in which languages we would like the conversation to be taking place.
How many languages in total?
In total, 8 languages, which includes, of course, English, but also French, Spanish, Mandarin. We've been testing many languages to see if it resonates with passengers. Everybody loves to speak their own language, but obviously, I'm Dutch. We have it available in Dutch as well, but there are just too little Dutch passengers to have that language available at each and every airport.
Okay, so how does it work for you financially? Is it a subscription model or is it an advertising brand-funded model?
It's a subscription model. And that means that as an airport, but also as a brand or an operator, you take a monthly subscription to a certain set of topics. So you take a subscription to COVID-related questions. So then at that moment, you're able to help all your passengers with all the questions they might have with regards to COVID. Do I need to disinfect? Is it a orange labeled country? Do I need to wear a mask? Where can I buy the mask, etc.? You can buy a subscription to a pack for gate information, flight on time, all those kind of related questions, which also include basic questions and answering in terms of where's the nearest toilet. If you're a brand, you can buy a monthly subscription to answer questions about your brand. So on the shelf, underneath your product, is a little text with a QR code that fully explains it all. You scan and you're in a conversation that helps as a brand to explain why you're so special, that there are no allergens in your product. That's actually a really good deal to buy it at the airport today because it's so much cheaper than in the country of origin of this passenger. Because the beauty of it is that you have one-on-one conversation. So you can actually talk to a passenger about his or her country of origin, the availability and pricing of the brand over there, and what's available on the shelf at the airport. And that sounds complicated, but because it's all automated, you can do it at massive scale. So you can actually say to a Chinese passenger, this skincare product is an amazing deal for you because it's 30% less than what you would buy it for back home. Or this is a really exclusive product. It's just not available in your country. And at the same time, you can selectively choose to give certain nationalities a discount and others not because it's already cheap for them.
So if you could just to conclude, say the one thing, the USP that airports are buying into and that brands are buying into to make this viable, what's driving them to your product?
Personalized conversations at massive scale. And what it does is finally put brands and the airport in a position to really have a tailor-made conversation with each individual passenger at a massive automated scale. What does that do for the passenger? You feel as if you're being helped and being heard. You are far much more inclined to enjoy your time at the airport, to spend money, but also to be very positive about the journey you've had at that airport.
So it's better connectivity for all parties.
It's better connectivity for all partners. You get to know each other a lot better than before, and because of that, there's so much more you can do at the airport through getting to know each other.
So you would argue then that it actually effectively humanizes the overall airport experience, something new, something vital.
Absolutely, Peter. Right said it. Absolutely humanizes the airport experience.